Why Japan is so interested in the world. Friends, hello. My name is Alex, and I travel a lot around the world, but Japan is a special place that surprises me again every time. Today I want to talk about modern girls and women of Japan, because it is they who make this country so unusual and multifaceted. Imagine, you are walking along the streets of Tokyo, where in one quarter you can meet schoolgirls in strict form, stylish office ladies, creative fashionistas in bright outfits and elderly ladies who carry their history with dignity. All this is Japan, a country where female energy is felt at every step. Why do Japanese women arouse such interest among travelers from around the world? Firstly, their image is surrounded by many puzzles and stereotypes. Someone believes that the Japanese women are very restrained and modest, someone that they always follow fashion and adore cute things. In fact, everything is much more interesting. Japanese girls know how to combine traditions and modern trends, to be independent, but at the same time respect the foundations of society. For example, once I watched a young girl in a kimono with a backpack was in a hurry to work at the office. It was an amazing contrast between the past and the future that you meet at every step in Japan. Japan is a country where the female role is constantly changing. Here you can meet women who build a career in large companies, open their cafes, become artists, and someone chooses the path of a caring mother or keeper of family traditions. And all this is part of a huge kaleidoscope, which you want to consider again and again. For tourists, Japan is not only temples, sushi and flowering sakura, but also the opportunity to see how modern Japanese women live, what they rejoice at, what they dream about and what difficulties are faced with. Believe me, their stories will not leave you indifferent. In the following chapters, we will analyze how the female image was formed in Japan, what traditions still affect the education of girls, how girls build a career, why the Japanese fashion has become cult, and much more. Subtract with me in this amazing world, where each chapter is a new look at the mysterious and inspiring female Japan. Historical roots: a woman in a traditional Japanese society. To understand modern Japanese women, you need to look back a little and see how their role in society developed over the centuries. The history of Japan is not just a series of events, but a whole world of traditions in which women have always played an important, but often inconspicuous role. Imagine the ancient times when the country was just beginning to form. Then the woman was a guardian of the hearth, wise advisor, and an indispensable assistant in the family. In the Heian era, which began more than 1,000 years ago, women of the court nobility were not only symbols of beauty, but also authors of poetry, diaries, and even influenced politics. For example, it was the woman who wrote the famous Tale of Genji, which is still considered one of the greatest works of world literature. At that time, the ladies wore multi-layer kimono, wrote graceful calligraphy and knew how to conduct subtle conversations, and cherished their opinion at court. But times have changed. In the era of samurai, from about the 12th century, the strict rules of the hierarchy came to the fore. Women had to adapt to new laws. They began to engage in the home, raising children, and the support of husbands' warriors. However, then there were exceptions. The stories about the Mirars who fought on a par with men were known if this required time. With the advent of the era of Edo, about 400 years ago, society became even more stringent. Women were ordered to be modest, obedient, and devoted to the family. They were taught to respect the elders, take care of children and not argue with their husbands. But even in these conditions, Japanese people knew how to show character. They managed the house, led family finances and were often real strategists in everyday life. At the end of the 19th century, when Japan opened to the world and began to change rapidly, women received new opportunities. They began to study, work, and some even went abroad to bring new knowledge and ideas to Japan. It was the time of the first steps to equality, although this path turned out to be long and difficult. Today's Japanese are the heiresses of all these eras. Their character combines respect for traditions, the ability to be flexible and the desire to go forward. And when you meet a modern Japanese woman, remember, behind her smile and modesty, a whole story is hidden, in which ancient customs and the spirit of changes have intertwined. Education of girls, the first steps in the Japanese world. When a girl appears in a Japanese family, this is always a special event. Parents from a very young age try to surround her with care and attention, because not only the future of the family, but also her own happiness depends on how she grows up. In Japan, the upbringing of girls is a subtle art where traditions, modern views, and expectations of society are intertwined. From the first years of life, the girl learns to be polite, respect the elders and take care of loved ones. Already in the kindergarten, babies are taught to work in a team, help each other and observe order. It is very important not to stand out too much, because harmony in the group is appreciated in Japan. For example, if the girl brought a bright accessory to school, the teacher can gently remind her of the rules so that no one feels special. The family of girls is often taught to traditional crafts. Someone masters the art of ikebana, the compilation of floral compositions. Someone learns to cook simple dishes or add origami. All this not only develops fine motor skills, but also teaches patience, perseverance and attentiveness to details. Music classes are very popular, a game of which are piano, as well as calligraphy lessons, where it is important not only to write beautifully, but also to express your feelings through lines and strokes. Education for girls in Japan has always been important, but truly large changes have occurred only in the last 150 years. Today, almost all girls go to school, and many continue to study at colleges and universities. Parents support the desire of their daughters for knowledge, because a good education opens the doors to interesting work and independent life. However, at the same time, there are many expectations for girls. They expect them that they will be obedient, neat, not to create problems and always think about the feelings of others. In adolescence, this can cause internal conflicts. On the one hand, I want to be yourself, and on the other hand, do not fail your family and not stand out against the background of peers. Many Japanese girls learn to find a balance between personal desires and the requirements of society. Interestingly, modern parents are increasingly supporting their daughters in choosing unusual hobbies and professions. Girls can play sports, participate in scientific circles, program, or even dream of becoming astronauts. Japanese society is gradually changing, and today girls have much more freedom for self-expression than ever before. The upbringing of girls in Japan is the path to life, where each step is filled with care, respect for traditions and the search for their unique path. And this is what makes Japanese girls so special and interesting for the whole world. Family values, a woman's place in the family. In Japanese culture, the family has always been and remains the basis of society. It is in the family that the main life guidelines are formed, traditions are laid and values from generation to generation are transmitted. A woman in a Japanese family occupies a special place. She is not just a mother or wife, but a real center of the home world who holds everything in harmony. From early childhood, girls are taught to respect their parents, take care of younger brothers and sisters, help around the house. This concern for loved ones becomes part of the character for life. When the girl gets married, she often moves into her husband's house, where she has to not only establish life, but also build relationships with his parents. In traditional families, such relationships may be difficult, because from a young wife they expect respect for the elders, the ability to listen and maintain family traditions. However, modern Japan is changing. More and more young couples prefer to live separately from parents, build their own way and make decisions on their own. Women are increasingly becoming equal partners in the family, discuss important issues, plan a budget and take part in raising children on a par with husbands. For many Japanese women, it is important not only to be a good mistress, but also to realize themselves outside the house in work, creativity, or public life. In Japanese families, it is customary to pay great attention to holidays, family meetings, and joint traditions. For example, a feast of girls, Hinamatsuri, when parents decorate the house with dolls and wish the daughters of happiness and health annually. Such moments bring generations together, help maintain warm relationships and respect for each other. Despite modern changes, many Japanese women still consider the creation of comfort and harmony in the house as their main task. They know how to combine the care of a family with personal interests, support relatives, and inspire them for new achievements. And precisely thanks to this, Japanese families remain strong, and women real keepers of the hearth who transmit their knowledge and love further, from heart to heart. Working woman, calls and opportunities. Modern Japan is a country where traditions meet with new trends, and this is especially pronounced in the life of working women. Some 100 years ago, most Japanese women were engaged only in household chores, but today everything has changed. More and more girls after school and university choose a career, make plans for the future and are not afraid to go forward, despite difficulties. The first step towards work is the search for a balance between personal life and professional ambitions. In Japan, there is still an opinion that a woman should first take care of the family, but more and more young Japanese women want to be independent, realize their talents and earn their own money. For example, I met girls who dream of becoming architects, doctors, engineers, or opening their small cafes. For them, work is not only a way to provide yourself, but also the ability to reveal your potential. However, the path to success is not always simple. In Japanese companies, strict rules are still found related to the appearance, behavior, and even the time of coming and leaving work. Women often have to prove their competence, work more eagerly to earn the respect of colleagues and authorities. For example, in some companies, young employees start their day very early, and they return home late in the evening, while trying not to complain and always look cheerful. In recent years, new laws have appeared in Japan that protect women's rights in the workplace. More and more companies offer a flexible schedule, the ability to work from home, as well as paid leave for childcare. This helps young mothers combine their careers and care for the family. The number of women leaders who become an example to follow and inspire others to go forward. Interestingly, Japanese women often choose professions related to people, teachers, nurses, social workers. But more and more girls try themselves in science, technology, business, and art. They participate in international projects, create startups, become bloggers, and affect public opinion. A working woman in Japan is a symbol of change. She knows how to combine traditional values with modern views, is not afraid of difficulties, and is always looking for new opportunities. Thanks to such girls, Japan becomes more open, diverse, and interesting for the whole world. Advances and taboos that women still cannot. Japan is a country where traditions and modern views live side by side, and that is why there are still certain prohibitions and taboos for women. Some of them are rooted in a deep past, while others appeared relatively recently, but all of them in their own way affect the life of Japanese women and cause interest among travelers from around the world. One of the most famous examples is the ban on women to participate in sumo competitions. This ancient martial art is considered exclusively male, and even today women are forbidden to enter the ring. The reason lies in ancient beliefs. It is believed that the female presence can desecrate a sacred place. Even if a woman is a talented athlete, she has to look for other ways for self-realization in sports. There are other places where women are closed. For example, Mount Aomon, which is considered one of the most sacred in Japan. Only men are allowed to this peak, and this rule has been strictly observed for many centuries. Such traditions may seem strange to the guests of the country, but for many Japanese they are part of the cultural heritage. A separate topic is the imperial throne. In modern Japan, a woman cannot become an empress by birth, even if she is an older child in the family. Discussions on this topic have been held for many years, but so far the tradition remains unchanged. This causes disputes in society, because more and more people believe that a woman can be a worthy leader. Everyday life also has its unspoken rules. For example, in some traditional restaurants, women are not allowed to sit at a counter where land is being prepared, because it is believed that female hands are warmer and can affect the taste of fish. Although such prohibitions gradually go into the past, they are still found in separate institutions. Sometimes a taboo is connected not with the place, but with the behavior. For example, girls expect restraint in expressing emotions, especially in public. A loud laughter, active gestures, or an open manifestation of feelings can cause surprise or even condemnation. This does not mean that Japanese people do not know how to enjoy life, they just are used to doing it more restrained. Despite all these restrictions, modern Japanese women are increasingly challenging traditions. They open their own sports clubs, become famous chefs, participate in public debate, and discuss important topics. For many young women, overcoming a taboo becomes a way to declare themselves, to show their strength and independence. Bans and taboos are not only restrictions, but also part of the complex mosaic of Japanese culture. Understanding them, we better see the challenges of women in Japan and how they find their ways to freedom and self-expression. Myths about Japanese women, true and fiction. When it comes to Japanese women, many immediately come up in their heads bright images, modest girls in a kimono, shy schoolgirls, fashionistas from Tokyo, or mysterious geisha. Over the years of travel, I have repeatedly encountered different myths about Japanese, and today I want to dispel the most popular ones so that you see real, living Japan. One of the most stable myths is that all the Japanese women are very modest and quiet. In fact, Japanese girls are completely different. Yes, restraint is valued in society, but this does not mean that everyone has the same character. I met girls who confidently perform on stage, lead their own blogs, laugh loudly in the company of friends, and are not afraid to argue with the teachers. Just Japanese women often choose when and where to show their emotions as part of a culture of respect for others. The second myth is that Japanese people always follow fashion and adore all the cute. Of course, in Japan there really are a lot of shops with cute things, and the popularity of the kawaii style is difficult not to notice. But not all girls are fond of this direction. Many prefer strict classics, sports style, or even minimalism. Japanese fashion is very diverse, and every girl finds her own way of self-expression. The third myth, as if Japanese people do not strive for independence and always depend on men. This was partially true in the past, but today the situation is changing. More and more women build their careers, open their business, travel alone, and make important decisions themselves. I know the girls who went to study abroad in order to gain new knowledge and experience, and then returned to Japan and started their own business. The fourth myth is that Japanese people do not know how to have fun. In fact, Japanese girls love to spend time with friends, arrange picnics under a flowering sakura, visit thematic cafes, play karaoke, and even participate in cosplay festivals. It's just that their fun often looks different than accepted, for example, in Europe or America. The fifth myth is due to the fact that Japanese are allegedly always obedient and do not argue. In fact, modern girls know how to defend their opinion, especially when it comes to work, study, or personal boundaries. They can be very persistent and fundamental if they believe that this is important. There are a lot of myths about Japanese, but reality is much more interesting. Japanese women are bright, bold, creative personalities who can combine respect for traditions with the desire to be themselves. And if you get to know Japanese better, be sure to see, the rich inner world, full of dreams, ideas, and amazing stories are hidden behind external restraint. Beauty standards, how ideals change. In Japan, beauty has always been something special, and the standards of attractiveness here changed from era to era. If you look closely, you can see that Japanese girls and women react very sensitively to changes in society, fashion, and even technologies. At different times, the ideal of beauty looked completely different, and this makes the Japanese culture incredibly interesting for study. Many centuries ago, snow-white skin, long black hair, and thin facial features were appreciated in Japan. Women from the nobility specially bleached the skin with rice powder to emphasize their sophistication. In the Heian era, which began more than 1,000 years ago, the ladies grew their hair to the heels, and the eyebrows painted high on the forehead to look mysterious and majestically. Then it was believed that the longer the hair and lighter the skin, the higher the status of a woman. In the era of Edo, about 400 years ago, new trends appeared. Women began to paint their teeth in black to show that they were married. This may seem like a strange modern person, but then such a gesture was a symbol of fidelity and maturity. At the same time, the kimono with bright patterns and complex hairstyles became an important part of the female image. With the advent of the 20th century, beauty standards began to change quickly. Under the influence of the West, short haircuts, makeup with an emphasis on the eyes, and lighter clothes came into fashion. Japanese women began to experiment with appearance, try new styles, and even change hair color. It became especially noticeable after the Second World War, when the country opened for new ideas and trends. Today, Japanese beauty standards are very diverse. On the one hand, accuracy, grooming, and naturalness is still valued. Girls often choose makeup, which emphasizes clean skin, large eyes, and light blush. On the other hand, bright images are popular, colored lenses, unusual hairstyles, bold accessories. In large cities such as Tokyo or Osaka, you can find girls in a variety of styles, from classics to vanguard. Interestingly, the Japanese beauty industry is very attentive to details. Here you can find cosmetics for any type of skin, special masks, creams, and even gadgets for face care. Many girls monitor fashion bloggers, learn new makeup techniques, and are not afraid to experiment. However, at the same time, Japanese women have their own internal standards. For many, it is important not only to look beautiful, but also to be in harmony with yourself, to feel confidence and tranquility. more and more girls choose sports, healthy nutrition, and self-care as part of everyday life. Beauty standards in Japan continue to change. The young generation is increasingly talking about accepting oneself, individuality, and respect for different types of appearance. This movement makes Japanese society more open, and girls even more interesting and inspiring for the whole world. Japanese fashion, from kimono to street trends. Japanese fashion is a real art in which traditions and modernity are intertwined into an amazing pattern. If you ever walked along the streets of Tokyo, especially in the areas of Harajuku or Shibuya, then you probably noticed how boldly and brightly dressed local girls. But in order to understand why the Japanese fashion has become so cult, you should look into its past and see how the style has changed for centuries. Kimono is a symbol of Japanese culture, which is still admired by tourists from around the world. Previously, all women wore a kimono, and by color, drawing, and quality of fabric it was possible to determine the age, marital status, and even the mood of the hostess. For special occasions, the most elegant kimono with embroidery were selected, and for everyday life, simpler options. To wear a kimono is a whole ceremony. You need to correctly tie a beltobi, choose the right shoes and accessories. Even today, many girls wear a kimono for holidays, graduation, weddings, or walks in ancient regions of the city. However, with the beginning of the 20th century, the Japanese fashion began to change under the influence of the West. Girls began to wear dresses, skirts, blouses, and later, jeans and t-shirts. In the post-war period, Japan survived a real fashionable boom. The first fashion magazines appeared, many boutiques opened, and the youth began to experiment with images. Even then, the first street styles arose in Tokyo, which subsequently conquered the whole world. Harajuku is a place where the most daring fashion trends are born. Here you can meet girls in bright wigs, with unusual makeup, in clothes resembling anime heroes or fairy tale characters. The kawaii style, cute, childish, with an abundance of pink, lace and plush accessories, became the hallmark of Japanese street fashion. But there are other directions: gothic, punk, minimalism, sports chic. Each girl can choose what is closer to her character and mood. Japanese pay special attention to details. Bags, jewelry, socks with unusual prints, hair clips, all this helps to create a unique image. Japanese fashion teaches not to be afraid to be yourself and express your individuality, even if it differs from generally accepted norms. In recent years, Japanese designers and brands have become known far beyond the country. Their collections appear on world catwalks, and street images from Tokyo inspire stylists and fashionistas from different parts of the planet. Fashion becomes a way of communication, game, and even protest against monotony. But despite all the variety, Japanese people still respect traditions. Many girls know how to combine a kimono with modern accessories, or vintage things, and create images that cannot be repeated anywhere in the world. Japanese fashion is not just clothing, but a whole philosophy in which freedom, creativity, and respect for their roots are valued. If you want to feel the atmosphere of modern Japan, be sure to pay attention to how local girls dress. Their style reflects the whole history of the country, its dreams, changes, and the desire for self-expression. Self-expression through appearance, hair, makeup, accessories. In Japan, appearance is not just a reflection of fashion, but a whole language with which girls tell about themselves to the world. Here, self-expression through details became a real art, and every Japanese can use appearance as a way to emphasize individuality, mood, and even life values. Hair plays a huge role in the image of a Japanese girl. If before long black hair was considered a standard of beauty and a symbol of femininity, today the girls are not afraid to experiment. You can find a variety of hairs, short haircuts, asymmetric shapes, curls, as well as staining in all colors of the rainbow from pale pink to bright blue. In large cities, fashion hairdressers offer unusual styling, braids, bows, and even hair jewelry, which turn each hairstyle into a work of art. For many Japanese women, changing hairstyles is a way to start a new page in life, express changes in the inner world, or just cheer yourself up. Makeup in Japan is a separate universe. Here, both a natural and creative approach is valued. Many girls prefer light makeup with an emphasis on clean skin, large eyes, and delicate shades of blush. Shadows of pastel colors, eyeliner for creating the effect of puppet eyes, and lip gloss are very popular. However, in street fashion you can also find bold images, bright arrows, false eyelashes, rhinestones, and even drawings on the face. Makeup becomes a way of playing, changing roles and expressing emotions. It is important that Japanese women are not afraid to try new things, they follow the trends, watch training videos and share their findings on social networks. Accessories are another important part of the self-expression. Japanese girls adore jewelry, hairpins, brooches, earrings, bracelets, rings and even unusual phones. Accessories with the image of cartoon heroes, flowers, pearls and crystals are in fashion. Often accessories become the main accent in the image, help to stand out or emphasize the mood. For example, in rainy weather, girls often choose bright umbrellas and rubber boots with prints to add paints on a gray day. Particular attention is paid to bags and backpacks. In Japan, miniature handbags of unusual shapes are popular, as well as backpacks with stripes, badges and soft toys. For schoolgirls and students, this is not only a convenient accessory, but also a way to show their interests, favorite colors or even hobbies. Self-expression through appearance is not just following fashion, but an opportunity to be at any age. Japanese girls learn to combine traditional elements with modern trends, are not afraid to stand out and inspire others for experiments. Thanks to this, the Japanese street culture has become one of the most recognizable and loved ones all over the world. The appearance here is not only beauty, but also a way to declare your dreams, views and mood, and sometimes even find like-minded people among passers-by on the noisy streets of the city. Personal boundaries, tactility, emotions, behavior. In Japan, personal boundaries are not just words, but a whole philosophy that permeates all spheres of life. This is especially noticeable in the behavior of girls and women, because it is they who most often become the guardians of invisible regulations of communication. For tourists from other countries, Japanese norms may seem unusual, but if they understand their essence, it becomes clear why Japanese people behave just that way. The first thing that catches your eye is the attitude to tactfulness. In Japan, it is not customary to hug or kiss at a meeting, even between close friends or relatives. Girls rarely show physical intimacy in public, preferring to express sympathy through a smile, a slight bow or kind words. Handsome are rare, most often in a business environment or when meeting foreigners. It is important for a Japanese to respect the personal space of another person so that no one feels embarrassed. Emotions in Japan are also customary to express with restraint. Girls rarely show irritation, anger, or sadness in public. If something does not like, the Japanese woman is more likely to remain silent or gently hints than to suit the scene. This is due to the tradition of not to stand out and maintain harmony in the group. Even joy manifests itself neatly, instead of loud laughter, a restrained smile, instead of storming embrace, is a light nod. Inside the family or with close friends, the girls can be more open, but in public they try to keep emotions under control. The behavior of Japanese girls in society is subordinated to the unspoken rules. For example, it is not customary to talk loudly in transport, laugh throughout the hall or interrupt the interlocutor. Girls try to be polite, attentive and neat, so as not to cause inconvenience to others. Even clothes and makeup are often selected so as not to attract excessive attention, especially in a formal setting. However, this does not mean that Japanese people do not know how to have fun or do not have their own opinion. They just choose where and with whom you can be yourself. In the circle of friends, girls can joke, discuss personal topics and even argue, but in public they prefer to observe the distance. This approach helps to maintain respect between people and avoid conflicts. It is important for tourists to remember, if the Japanese woman keeps a distance, do not rush to be offended. This is not coldness, but a manifestation of respect. If you gain her trust, you can see the other side, sincere, warm and very caring. Personal boundaries in Japan are a way to live in peace with themselves and others, and it is thanks to this that girls here are able to create an atmosphere of calm and harmony even in the most noisy metropolis. Woman and health, taboo topics. In Japan, the attitude to female health is a subtle and delicate topic, which is not always customary to talk about openly. Many issues related to the body, well-being and even nutrition remained behind closed doors for a long time. However, modern Japanese women are increasingly raising these topics, helping other women feel more confident and take care of themselves without hesitation. One of the most taboo topics have been considered issues related to the menstrual cycle. In schools and even in families, such conversations were often limited to short explanations, and many girls were shy to discuss any inconvenience associated with this period. In stores, gaskets and other means are usually sold in opaque packages so that no one can see what the girl buys. Only in recent years, special educational programs and blogs have appeared, where young women are shared by the experience, tips and support of each other. In Japan, much attention is paid to appearance and weight. From an early age, girls are taught to monitor the figure, eat right and play sports. In schools, weighing is often carried out, and diets and ideal parameters are actively discussed in magazines and on television. Because of this, some girls may have self-doubt or even a desire to hide their habits. However, more and more Japanese women choose a healthy lifestyle, engage in yoga, running, dancing and learning to take their body as it is. Topics related to female health are often discussed in the circle of close friends or in special women's clubs. Here, girls can share their experiences, ask questions about gynecology, pregnancy, skin care, and even mental condition. In recent years, interest in mental health has been growing in Japan. Support groups, psychological consultations, and online resources appear, where you can get help anonymously. Interestingly, Japanese women are very serious about the prevention of diseases. Regular medical examinations, visits to the doctor, and care of themselves are considered the norm. Many companies even provide employees with additional days to pass examinations or relaxation, if necessary for health. Despite the fact that some topics are still inconvenient for discussion, Japanese are gradually changing their attitude to their body and health. They learn to talk about complex issues openly, support each other, and look for information in order to make conscious decisions. Thanks to this, Japanese society becomes more sensitive, and the girls become more confident and happier, because care for himself ceases to be something shameful and becomes an important part of every woman's life. Women in technology, digital Japan through the eyes of girls. Modern Japan is a country where technologies penetrate all spheres of life, and women play an increasingly noticeable role in this process. If earlier the digital world was considered a male territory, today Japanese people confidently master new professions, create startups, lead popular blogs, and become real leaders in the field of technology. It all starts at school. Girls study the basics of programming, robotics, and work with a computer along with boys. Many choose technical circles, participate in Olympiads and competitions, where they can show their talents. In universities, the number of students on engineering, mathematical, and its specialties is growing. This opens up new horizons in front of the girls, from working in large corporations to creating their own digital projects. Japanese women actively use social networks and messengers to communicate, exchange experience, and promote their ideas. Many girls lead blogs about fashion, travel, culture, or cooking, sharing advice and inspiring subscribers. Some become real influencers who form trends and affect public opinion. For example, popular video bloggers talk about life in Japan, analyze modern gadgets, give makeup lessons, or teach programming. In business, more and more women open their startups related to technology. It can be mobile health applications, educational platforms, online stores, or travelers. Japanese women are not afraid to take risks. They are looking for investors, participate in hackathons and international competitions. Thanks to this, the female community in it is becoming more noticeable, and the girls support each other, sharing experience and tips. A special place is occupied by women in science and engineering. In Japan, there are famous scientists, engineers, laboratories who are becoming an example for the young generation. They participate in the development of new technologies, create robots, engage in artificial intelligence and environmental projects. Many of them perform at international conferences, share their discoveries, and inspire other girls to follow this path. Technologies also help Japanese women in everyday life. Smartphones, smartwatches, applications for business planning, buying, and communication, all this makes life more convenient and interesting. Many girls use digital tools for learning, searching for work, budget management, and even to care about health. Digital Japan through the eyes of women is a world of opportunities, creativity, and support. Here, girls are not afraid to be the first, learn new things, and help each other to grow. Thanks to them, Japanese society becomes more modern, open, and diverse, and technology is an integral part of the life of every woman, regardless of age and profession. Modern heroines, famous Japanese women and their influence. In Japan, there were always women who inspired others with their talent, courage, and desire for changes. Today, there are more and more such heroines, and each of them changes the appearance of the country in its own way. Their stories show that a Japanese woman can be anyone: a scientist, artist, entrepreneur, athlete, or public figure. Thanks to these women, the young generation receives new landmarks and believes that everything is possible. One of the most famous modern heroines is considered by Naomi Osaka, a tennis player who has become a symbol of strength, perseverance, and independence. Her victories at international tournaments were inspired by thousands of girls throughout Japan to play sports and believe in themselves. Naomi actively speaks of the importance of mental health, supports social initiatives, and fights with bias in society. In the world of art and cinema, Rinko Kikuchi occupies a special place, an actress who became famous not only in Japan, but also beyond its borders. She is shot in Hollywood films, participates in international festivals, and proves that a Japanese woman can be in demand and successful on the world stage. Her example inspires young actresses not to be afraid to dream of a big one. In science and technology, there are many known names. For example, Mamami Naruse is one of the leading researchers in the field of robotics, which develops innovative solutions for medicine and education. Her work helps to make people's lives more convenient, and girls are bold in choosing a profession. In business and public life, Tomoko Nagatsuka, an entrepreneur who founded a successful cafe network and supporting projects for women, stands out. She conducts master classes, writes books, and shares her experience in order to inspire other girls to realize their ideas. Many Japanese heroines are actively involved in charity, fight for women's rights, support environmental initiatives, and create educational programs for children. Their activity goes far beyond Japan. They cooperate with international organizations, perform on the forums, and become a voice of change. It is important that modern heroines are not afraid to talk about complex topics: equal rights, mental health, ecology, innovation. They openly share their stories, do not hide difficulties and defeats, showing that the path to success is not always easy, but always possible. Thanks to such women, Japanese society becomes more open and diverse. Their examples inspire not only girls, but also men, help destroy stereotypes, and believe in their strengths. Modern heroines of Japan are symbols of change that make the country brighter, more interesting, and kinder for everyone. Woman in art, from ukiyo to pop culture. The female image in Japanese art has always been special and multifaceted. For many centuries, artists, writers, directors, and musicians were inspired by the beauty, strength, and mysterious of Japanese women, creating works that still delight the whole world. Traveling in Japan, I have repeatedly noticed how female images become a central theme in a variety of genres, from ancient engravings to modern comics and cinema. In the era of Edo, about 300 years ago, the famous yukai-e technique appeared: colored engravings on a tree. In these engravings, beauties, geisha, actresses of the kabuki theater, and ordinary townspeople were often depicted. Women on ukiyo-e is the embodiment of grace, and internal power. Their images were not only an aesthetic ideal, but also a reflection of the mood of society, fashion, and even political changes. With the development of literature, female voices began to sound louder. Already in the Heian era, more than 1,000 years ago, women wrote novels, diaries, and poetry, which are still considered masterpieces of Japanese literature. The Tale of Genji, created by Murasaki Shikibu, is a vivid example of how a female look can change the idea of peace and love. In the 20th century, Japanese women began to actively participate in the theater, cinema, and music. The first actresses, singers, artists who broke stereotypes and opened new horizons for creativity appeared. Their work often raised the topics of freedom, self-determination, search for themselves, and the fight against prejudices. For example, in Japanese cinema you can find images of strong, independent heroines who inspire the audience to change. A special place is occupied by anime and manga, modern forms of art that glorify Japan throughout the world. Here female characters are very different, from cute schoolgirls to warriors, scientists, magicians, and superhero. They become role models for millions of fans, teach friendship, courage, fidelity to their dreams. Many famous artists and screenwriters create vivid, memorable images that go beyond traditional ideas about femininity. Music also plays an important role in the formation of a female image. Japanese singers and groups set trends, experiment with styles, and inspire young girls for creativity. Their songs often talk about feelings, hopes, difficulties, and victories, helping students find a response in their own experiences. A woman in Japanese art is always more than just a beautiful picture. This is a symbol of change, a source of inspiration, and a reflection of life itself. Thanks to the work of Japanese women, art becomes closer, clearer, and more interesting for people from around the world. Curtains, geisha, and quarters of love, romance and reality. The theme of courtesans, geisha, and quarters of love always aroused special interest among travelers, because it was here that romance, art, and real human destinies are intertwined. In Japan, these phenomena have deep historical roots and still remain part of the cultural heritage, although modern attitude towards them is very different from the past. Geishas are perhaps the most famous symbol of Japanese femininity and mystery. They are often confused with courtesans, but in fact, geisha is primarily an artist, a master of traditional arts, music, dance, and conversations. To become a geisha, the girl goes a long way of learning. First she becomes a student Meiko, learns to play musical instruments, dance, conduct a secular conversation and observe strict etiquette. Geishas perform on holidays, conduct tea ceremonies and know how to create an atmosphere of comfort and joy for guests. There are still quarters in Kyoto and other cities where you can find real geisha, although their number decreases every year. Curtains, or oiran, were other representatives of Night Japan. Unlike geisha, they combined the art of communicating with more frank services, but at the same time they were famous for their education, beauty and the ability to maintain a conversation on any topic. Oiran wore luxurious kimono, complex hairstyles, and were real stars of the quarters of love, yukaku. These areas existed in large cities, such as Edo, current Tokyo, Osaka and Kyoto, and were a place where different layers of society intersected: samurai, merchants, artists, and ordinary citizens. The quarters of love were not only a place of entertainment, but also a kind of cultural center. Here, new styles were born in fashion, music, poetry, and painting. Many famous artists and writers drew inspiration in these places. However, life in such areas was far from a fairy tale. The girls often got here by needed, came across stiff rules and depended on the owners of the establishments. Over time, the attitude to geishas and courtesans has changed. After the reforms of the 19th century, the quarters of love began to disappear, and the profession of geisha was preserved as part of the traditional culture. Today, geishas are the guardians of art and history, and the quarters where they work have become popular tourist attractions. Many Japanese women are proud of this heritage, although they admit that difficult fates are hidden behind beautiful rituals. Romance and reality in the history of geisha and courtesans are two sides of one medal. On the one hand, this is a world of beauty, art and mystery. On the other hand, hard work, strict discipline and struggle for respect. Modern Japanese women look at this heritage with interest and respect, trying to preserve the best traditions and remember the past without embellishment. Love and relationship, Japanese romance. Love in Japan is a whole world of special traditions, gestures, and rituals that can surprise even an experienced traveler. Japanese girls and women are very serious about relationships, but at the same time they can maintain lightness, delicacy, and even a note of mystery in them. Here, romance is built not on loud words, but with attention to details, respect, and the ability to listen to each other. In the past, marriages in Japan were often concluded by agreement between families. Parents selected a suitable pair based on a social status, character, and even a horoscope. Young people could meet only at a special meeting, omiyai, where all the details of the future life together were discussed. Girls in such marriages learn to be patient, support her husband and keep harmony in the house. However, over time, traditions have changed, and today most Japanese choose a love partner. Modern acquaintances in Japan often begin with friendship or joint study and work. Young people look at each other for a long time before taking the first step. Japanese girls value sincerity, reliability and kindness, as well as the ability to take care of trifles. Recognition and sympathy is an important point that usually occurs in a calm, cozy environment. Instead of loud confessions in love, it is customary to give small gifts, write notes, or invite for a walk under a blooming sakura. Dates in Japan is a real art. Young couples are often found in a cafe, walk in parks, visit thematic museums, or arrange picnics. Of particular importance is attached to joint photographs, the exchange of souvenirs, and even the choice of the same accessories, the so-called paired things. It can be a keychain, a phone cover, or a t-shirt with the same pattern, which symbolizes the unity of the couple. In relations, Japanese people try to show respect and care, without imposing their feelings. Quarrels and conflicts are usually resolved through a calm conversation or even silence, so as not to offend a partner. Many girls consider it important to maintain each other's personal space, not to control every step and trust their chosen one. Interestingly, Japan has its own special holidays related to love. For example, on February, girls give chocolate to their lovers, and on the 14th of March, men respond with gifts in response. These traditions make relations more vivid and memorable. In recent years, new trends have appeared: acquaintances through applications, joint travels, participation in thematic parties, and even quick dates. More and more girls choose independence, are in no hurry to get married, and prefer to first build a career or realize their dreams. Japanese romance is a combination of traditions and modern views, where the main thing is respect, sincerity, and the ability to enjoy simple things. Love here is not always expressed in words, but it is always felt in actions, care, and desire to be near and dear person, despite all the changes in time. Woman consumer, influence on the economy and trends. Modern Japanese women play a huge role in the country's economy and the formation of consumer trends. Their tastes, habits, and preferences affect not only the domestic market, but also on world brands that carefully monitor what Japanese women choose. Traveling in Japan, I have repeatedly noticed how girls set fashion for new goods, services, and even business areas. In Japan, women are traditionally responsible for the family budget and make the majority of purchase decisions. This applies not only to products and household goods, but also to equipment, clothes, cosmetics, furniture, and even cars. Many shops and shopping centers are guided precisely on the women's audience, offering special promotions, bonus programs, and unique collections. For example, in large Tokyo department stores you can find entire floors dedicated only to female goods, from fashion accessories to organic cosmetics. Japanese girls react very sensitively to new trends. It is worthwhile to appear a popular blogger or celebrity with an unusual bag or gadget, as thousands of fans immediately begin to look for the same things. Fashion for a healthy lifestyle, environmentally friendly products, minimalism, and smart gadgets have largely appeared thanks to young women who are the first to try innovations and share impressions on social networks. A special place is occupied by the beauty industry. Japanese women are famous for their attentive attitude to themselves, and it is they who create the demand for new cosmetics, procedures, and salons. Many brands develop products specifically for the Japanese market, taking into account the features of the skin, hair, and local climate. Not only classic creams and masks are popular, but also innovative home care gadgets, which quickly become part of a daily routine. Japanese women actively affect the development of the service sector. Cafes, restaurants, fitness clubs, educational courses, and travel agencies are often focused on the women's audience. For example, there are cafes with a cozy atmosphere where you can meet with friends, or fitness programs developed specifically for women of different ages. Travel companies offer individual routes taking into account the interests of girls, from shopping to visiting spa centers and masterclasses in cooking. In recent years, Japanese women are increasingly becoming entrepreneurs. They open their own shops, cafes, internet projects, and even launch startups in the field of technology and design. Thanks to this, new jobs appear, and the economy becomes more flexible and diverse. The influence of Japanese women on the economy is not only numbers and statistics. This is energy, creativity, and desire to make life more convenient, more beautiful, and more interesting. It is thanks to them that Japan remains one of the most innovative and fashionable countries in the world, and local and world brands continue to be inspired by their tastes, dreams, and the desire for a new one. Fashion for tourists: how not to stand out and not get into trouble. Traveling to Japan is always an exciting adventure, especially for girls who want not only to see new places, but also to feel like a part of local culture. Japanese women are famous for their sense of style and attention to details, so tourists should find out in advance how to dress in order not to stand out too much and not get into an awkward situation. The first rule is respect for local traditions and norms. In Japan, accuracy, cleanliness, and restraint in clothes are valued. Even in hot weather, girls prefer to cover their shoulders, do not wear too short skirts or deep cuts, especially when it comes to visiting temples, museums, or official events. For such cases, light dresses, skirts to the knee, blouses with sleeves or cloaks are suitable. It is important to remember that in some temples and traditional restaurants they can ask to cover tattoos, if any. In everyday life, Japanese people often choose comfortable but tidy clothes. Jeans, t-shirts, sneakers, all this is quite appropriate if the things look clean and neat. In large cities, girls like to experiment with style, but even the brightest images always look harmonious and not defiant. If you want to try something unusual, you can be inspired by Tokyo's street fashion, add a bright accessory, an unusual bag or an original hairstyle. The main thing is not to overdo it and remember the sense of measure. Particular attention should be paid to shoes. In Japan, it is customary to take off shoes at the entrance to the house, some cafes, temples and even fitting rooms in stores. Therefore, it is better to choose shoes that are easy to remove and put on ballet shoes, loafers or comfortable sandals. Pure socks are an obligatory element, because they often have to show them. If you plan to attend traditional events, for example, a tea ceremony or festival, you can try to wear a kimono or yukata. In Japan there are special salons where they will help you choose an outfit, make a hairstyle and even explain the rules of conduct. Such an experience will not only decorate the trip, but also help to feel like a part of the local culture. On trips to cities and villages, it is better to avoid too bright jewelry, massive bags, and candid outfits. Japanese people value modesty and harmony, so the restrained style will always be appropriate. If you are not sure what to put on, focus on local girls, they best know how to look stylish and not attract excess attention. An important advice, always have a light cloak or scarf with you. In Japan, air conditioners often work, and in transport and stores it can be cool even in the summer. Such an accessory will not only warm, but also help to hide, if necessary. A journey through Japan is an excellent occasion to experiment with the image, but the main thing is to respect local traditions and feel comfortable. Then you can not only avoid awkward situations, but also get real pleasure from meeting Japanese culture and fashion. New movements, feminism and female communities. In recent decades, in Japan, the voice of women who want changes and are ready to fight for their rights sounds louder. Feminism and female communities become an important part of public life, helping Japanese women feel more confident, more protected and freer in choosing their path. These movements not only change their attitude to women in the country, but also inspire girls around the world. Feminism in Japan has its own characteristics. If in the West movement is often associated with loud promotions and protests, then in Japan women prefer to act more gently, but no less effective. They create clubs, associations, online platforms where they discuss important topics, equal opportunities in education and at work, fighting discrimination, support for young mothers, health rights, and personal freedom. In such communities, girls share experience, tips, help each other solve complex issues and find like-minded people. One of the most noticeable trends in recent years was the emergence of women's entrepreneurial clubs. Here, Japanese women learn to conduct business, develop projects, look for investors and build a career. Such clubs often hold master classes, lectures, meetings with successful women who share their stories and inspire others not to be afraid of change. For many girls, participation in such communities is the first step towards independence and financial independence. In Japan, initiatives to support women in science, technology, art and sports are actively developing. Funds and grants appear that help girls receive education, implement creative projects, and participate in international competitions. Thanks to these programs, more and more Japanese women become scientists, engineers, artists, athletes, and leaders of public movements. Particular attention is paid to the issues of equality at the workplace. Women's organizations are fighting for fair wages, a flexible schedule, the ability to combine career and family. More and more often, topics of mental health, burnout prevention, support of women who find themselves in difficult life situations are raised. Many companies introduce mentoring programs where experienced employees help young colleagues adapt and grow professionally. Feminism in Japan is not only a struggle for rights, but also the creation of a space for an open dialogue. Here, girls learn to talk about their feelings, dreams, and problems, not afraid to be heard. They support each other, organize charitable actions, participate in public campaigns, and change their attitude towards a woman in society. Women's communities are becoming a real force uniting girls of different ages, professions, and views. Thanks to them, Japanese society becomes more open, fair, and friendly. These movements show that changes are possible if you act together, support each other, and believe in their strength. The future of Japanese women, trends and forecasts. Japanese society today is on the verge of great changes, and it is women who become the main driving force of these changes. The future of Japanese girls and women is a combination of respect for traditions and a desire for a new one, finding a balance between family, career, and personal dreams. Already now you can see what trends determine the life of Japanese women and what their tomorrow can be. One of the main trends is the growth of the independence of women. More and more girls receive higher education, build a career, open their own businesses, and travel around the world. Japanese women are increasingly choosing not to rush to marriage, first realize themselves, and then think about creating a family. This changes not only the structure of society, but also the attitude to the female role. Now it is not limited only to the house and children, but includes leadership, creativity, and personal development. The second important trend is the digitalization of life. Japanese women actively master new technologies, work in it, create startups, conduct blogs and online projects. Thanks to the internet, girls have more opportunities for training, the exchange of experience, and the search for like-minded people. In the future, this trend will only intensify. New professions associated with artificial intelligence, robotics, ecology, and design will appear. The third trend is self-care and mental health. More and more Japanese women pay attention not only to appearance, but also to the internal state. Popularity is gaining sports, meditation, psychological consultations, support groups. Women learn to talk about their feelings, are not afraid to ask for help, and support each other in difficult situations. This helps them be stronger, more confident, and happier. The fourth trend is participation in public life and the struggle for equal rights. Japanese girls are increasingly becoming leaders, perform on forums, participate in charity events and social movements. They are not afraid to raise complex topics, discuss the problems of discrimination, ecology, education, and healthcare. Thanks to their activity, Japanese society becomes more open and fair. The fifth trend is a rethinking of traditions and family values. The young generation of Japanese women learns to combine respect for the past with the desire to be themselves. More and more families are building relationships on equal rights, mutual assistance, and trust. Women convey to their daughters not only traditional knowledge, but also the ability to dream, choose their own path, and not be afraid of changes. The future of Japanese women is a world of opportunities in which every girl can be herself, realize her talents, and build life according to her own scenario. Japan is changing thanks to women, their courage, energy, and the desire to make the world better. And these changes will certainly lead to the fact that the country will become even more interesting, diverse, and harmonious for everyone who lives and travels here. Conclusion: why is it worth recognizing Japanese women closer? Japanese girls and women are an amazing world full of contrasts, beauty, and inspiration. Behind external restraint and accuracy hides a huge strength of character, the desire to learn new things, take care of loved ones, and change the world around you. Having met Japanese women closer, you understand, they not only store traditions, but boldly go forward, discovering new horizons for themselves and others. Every Japanese woman is a story in which ancient customs and modern dreams have intertwined. They know how to be gentle and decisive, modest and creative, restrained and passionate in their hobbies. It is thanks to them that Japanese society becomes more harmonious, open to changes, and friendly to guests from around the world. For tourists, acquaintance with Japanese women is an opportunity to see the country from the other side. This is not only a beautiful kimono, an exquisite tea ceremony, or the fashionable streets of Tokyo, but also sincere smiles, support, the ability to enjoy the little things and find harmony even in the fastest rhythm of life. Japanese women teach to appreciate simple joys, respect other people's boundaries, and seek inspiration in every day. If you come to Japan, try to chat with local girls, find out their views, dreams, and cares. You will see that behind the seeming modesty, bright personalities are hiding, ready to share their experience, to support and inspire. Their stories are a kaleidoscope of emotions, ideas, and discoveries that will not leave indifferent a single traveler. To recognize Japanese women is closer, it means to understand how traditions and changes can coexist, how important support and respect is, and how everyone can influence the future of his country. Let this story become an invitation to a new journey not only in Japan, but also in the world of female strength, beauty and wisdom. Do not forget about the useful services that we indicate in the fixed comments. Subscribe to the channel, like it. Good rest for everyone.